Okay. Okay. Joe, can you see my screen?
Yes, we see the first page. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Okay, great. So my name is Emil Gable. As Joe mentioned, I am the director of our prep program here at EF Academy, New York. And as she mentioned, I've been in the field of education for more than a decade at this point. I have my master's degree in TESOL from Teachers College, Columbia University. In addition to being the director of our prep program, I also work as an adjunct faculty member of teacher education at a university in New York. And my email is here. Should you ever want to reach out directly to me, I'm more than happy to share additional materials than what you see this evening and expand on anything. I think I've worked with a few of you. I looked at the list of names of people joining, and I recognized a few there. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope that this will be helpful to you. So the first thing that I really want to mention is that the program is really a research-based program. So all of the decisions that we made while creating the program were all decisions that are really backed by decades of research in language acquisition and academics. So um, the first thing that I want to point out is this guy named Jim Cummins. And Jim Cummins comes up with this really interesting approach and theory to academic language acquisition in 1997. Anyone who is in the field of language acquisition will know his name. And he comes up with two kinds of language. He calls it BICS, which is basic language. This is the language that comes to us innately when we say hello, we say goodbye, we ask somebody how they're doing. Um, we can talk about our hobbies or our favorite color. This is all of our basic language. Then he says there's another kind of language. It's called CALP. I call it academic language. And this is language that needs to be taught explicitly. It does not come naturally to us. It is not something that we pick up by hearing it in a classroom or hearing it in conversation. It is really something that needs to be taught very explicitly. And so most language programs, they focus on BICS because it's something that you acquire very quickly, you feel very accomplished. Very, very few language programs in the world will actually focus on academic language or CALP because it's much more difficult to teach, it's much more difficult to acquire, and it's very, very challenging for the students. And so it takes them a bit longer. However, our prep program was really designed to focus on CALP and building CALP as quickly as possible. So, how long does it really take to learn a language? Well, BICS, the research tells us that it takes about 1 to 2 years to learn BICS. It's pretty short. For anyone that's ever traveled abroad or visited another country, uh, you have probably picked up a few phrases in that local language, and it's really that quick. If you ever take a language course abroad somewhere, whether that be in English or another language, you're going to learn how to greet people really fast. CALP, though, it takes 5 to 7 years. That is really the average. And so it takes quite some time to learn academic language because it needs to be taught explicitly. I like to show this graph not only to you, but also to families because it really explains how the language process works and why our prep program is really different and based in research. So you see two pyramids on the screen. One is in orange. This is in the first language, which most of the people here are from Asia. So that could be Taiwan, that could be China. So you could be speaking Korean, Japanese, etc. You're going to acquire your own BICS, right, in your first language, and you're going to acquire CALP in your first language, that academic language. The same is true for any other language that you learn, whether it be English, French, Italian, etc. The CALP is where it gets really interesting. And this is why transcripts are important. We know that the students who are academically strong in their first language transfer all those skills over to English language while they're learning. So for students who are failing all their classes, they're not going to be a great language learner, especially when it comes to CALP. But for students who are academically strong, but even if they have a low level of English, their English is really quite low, those are really promising students, are really quite interesting because we know that even if their language is low, they're going to take all those strong skills that they have in their first language and transfer over as they learn academic English language. So this is our program map as it comes to acquiring language. So we have 4 intakes in our program, and I'm going to show you a nicer looking program map in a moment. So our fall intake is in green, and we take students, I say at A0, which doesn't really exist, but for the fall intake, we can take students who really have limited English language proficiency. Maybe they've just started acquiring it in the last year, right? Or they've taken it, but they haven't taken it seriously. So they have quite a low level of English language. So our fall program really focuses on building up those students as quickly as possible. And by the end of our fall program, we hope to have them in the mid A1 range. By the time we transition to our winter program, we take students who are at the high A1 level, still quite low in terms of English language proficiency. But our goal with those winter students is to get them at the high A2 level by the end of the program, possibly a low B1, depending on how motivated they are. For our spring students, we can take students at the low A2 level, and we really hope to get them as close to a mid B1 as possible. And then for our summer students, we really take a range. We can take students as low as a low B1, but our summer program is really an academic skills building program. And so we take all students ranging from a low B1 to even a B2, because in that program, we're really focusing on preparing students to enter the academic world in an English-speaking classroom. But this gives you a nice overview of the types of language outcomes you might expect from the various intakes. So when we talk about the ideal environment for CALP acquisition, which is really what our goal is with the prep program, then the equation changes a bit. So BICS, you can hope for it to take just about a year, and CALP 3 to 4 years, which is exactly what we're hoping for, right? When your students come to us in grade 9 or grade 10, they have about 3 to 4 years to get to where they need to be before university. So the prep program is really priming them, getting as much language work and academic work done as possible before they enter grade 9 or grade 10. That way they can spend the next 3 to 4 years getting everything they need before university, because by the time they get to university, they really need to be at a high B2. That way they can be really successful at an English-speaking American university or European if they decide to do that. For exceptionally motivated students, and I know that you meet them, they're going to move even faster, and they can accomplish this in 2 to 3 years. But those are really quite rare cases. But when you find them, please do send them to us, because with the prep program, this is going to be something that's just going to put them way above the rest, because in my opinion, I have yet to find a program like this exist at other schools. If you find one, let me know. So let's take a look at our program map. Our fall pathway starts in September and it ends at the very end of the school year in May. It's a full academic year program. It's our longest program, and it is definitely our most intense. With this program, we can take a student who is at the emerging levels of English language, and we can get them prepared to enter 9th and possibly even 10th grade. Our winter pathway is really quite fantastic because we can take students who are at the high A1 level and we can move them to a high A2, possibly a low B1, depending on how academically and linguistically motivated they are. And then finally, our spring pathway, we can take students in the A2 level and move them into the B1 level, preparing them for 9th and 10th grade as well. The fall and winter pathway, they both start by focusing on the foundational language skills that are necessary for students to have before moving on to academic language. The spring pathway is when the previous two pathways transition into a fully academic program. Students are going to have all those academic core subjects, which I'll tell you about very soon. And then for that summer pathway, I like to say that it's for every student, because almost all of our students are second language learners. Some of them, this is their third language, English language. So the summer pathway is really open to any student that is at a B2 or lower, up to a B1. So B1s and B2s are perfect for this summer pathway, where students are really focused on developing their academic skills. They're really focused on developing their self-confidence, public speaking skills, working in small groups, building skills like presentation skills, participating in debates, those types of skills that will be necessary to be a full member of our EF Academy community and to fully participate in an English academic environment. So let me give you a little bit more detail. For our fall, winter, and spring pathways, our students are fully integrated into life at EF Academy New York. They are no different than any other student on our campus. The way that I like to describe it is they are simply entering into a different academic program. So for students that are in our AP program, those are students that are in our AP program. If you're in our IB, International Baccalaureate program, you're a student in our IB program. And if you're a student in our prep program, you are simply an EF Academy student in our prep program. So you are no different than any other student on our campus, and you are treated as such. So their roommates will be with all other EF Academy students. So they will not be segregated into a separate part of the campus or into different rooms, etc. They are fully integrated into life at our school. They will take part in our academic clubs and weekend activities all throughout the academic year. They will, for our fall students, they will also be able to join us on our fall immersion trips, which take place with all of our EF Academy students. And for our winter students, they are invited to join us if they choose on our spring break trip to Belize, which our current winter students, we have 3 of those students joining us on our spring break trip to Belize this year, which is really quite great. So they got fully integrated really, really quickly. For fall, winter, and spring, it's really quite special because they get to make friends and connections with faculty and staff and other students before their academic journey fully begins that September. So when they come back and school has officially started for them, they already feel very connected and a part of the school community, which is really quite great. For our summer pathway, although they are not going to enter during the traditional academic year, they will still have their EF Academy prep student roommates, and we will still provide them with after-school and weekend activities over the summer. And really, most of their teachers during the summer program are our EF Academy teachers. So they will really get to know our faculty and staff over the summer as well, so that when they start school in September, they will feel connected and they will feel integrated into the community. The other special thing about the summer program, and this is always a joy for the students in particular, is that because they're joining in the summer and they won't be going back home, they will get first pick of the bed in their dorm rooms. So they get to move into their dorm room before any other student, and they get to choose the bed first, which is always a nice plus for our summer prep students. So who is the fall prep path for? Well, it's for our lowest level of English language. As I said, we are very flexible with the type of student that we can take for our fall prep program. It is a 38-week program. It's really quite intense, quite long. It's really language intense and academically intense as well. So the requirements are simply an interview with me. They don't need to take a Duolingo or any other language assessment. The one thing that I would say is that I'm really looking for motivated students and motivated families who are really looking to invest in their academic success. So that would be my one requirement. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward interview. And of course, they still need to submit all of our other application materials, but in terms of prep specific, it's really quite straightforward. This is a sample pathway schedule for the fall program. As you can see, it is language heavy, and that's because these students still need foundational skills in language. So they will be getting 7 courses spread throughout the day. It is a different schedule than our academy schedule, but that's because these students have different needs. So we really are creating a curated schedule for them. They will still take an art class and a math class. Their math class is really focused on mathematical language, not mathematical skills, so it's not going to be new content. And their art class is really a place for them to express themselves in a different way while also picking up some art-specific language. The other courses are really focused on developing their foundational language skills, which they'll need as they progress to the spring program. So our winter pathway, which is actually just concluded this week. Our winter pathway students will be going home for spring break, some of them going to Belize, and we'll be excited to have them back on campus in a few weeks for the beginning of our spring path. This is a 30-week program. Students can have a slightly higher level than our fall prep program. I'd say at the high A1, low A2 level. It's really quite a wide spectrum. So again, no Duolingo required. They simply need to interview with me. And once again, I am looking for highly motivated students. The schedule is different from our fall program because it really is focused on the academic skills now. The fall program is focused on building foundational skills. The winter program is focused on building the academic skills of these areas. Again, we slowly build up as we move through these pathways. And here they'll be entering into our academy schedule. So they're no longer on a separate prep schedule, but they are on our academy block schedule. So that means they'll get a physical education class as in addition to their art and math class. And then we begin focusing on academic research skills in our winter program. So they actually do an 8-week intensive research project, which our students just completed. And those presentations were broadcast live to their families around the world. And we had 20 members of our staff and faculty join us for those presentations as well. So it's really quite an intense winter prep program. Our spring program, which is very popular in Asia, is really for students who are at a mid A2. And I'm sorry, this is incorrect. They do need a Duolingo. I apologize for the error there. Copy and paste on my part. I apologize. They do need a Duolingo for the spring program. We are a bit flexible with that. We have more flexibility in the spring, but really we need to know where they are. We need an accurate picture for spring because it is just a 19-week program. So the time begins to tick a little bit on how much we can accomplish in terms of language and academic progression. The schedule is very different from fall and winter. We have transitioned into a full academic program. So now they have a history class, they'll have a literacy class. They will also have a science course, which will either be psychology or biology. So we have taken away a lot of those language building courses and we've replaced them with academic language courses that are specific to content areas. The summer program is really open to all students. And by that, I mean all students at the B1 level or higher. We can be, our flexibility is really limited in the summer program because it is just 9 weeks. So we're really focusing on academic skills, academic preparation. This is a great add-on program for families who might be nervous about having their child come to the US, might want them to get a little bit of a head start, might want to have some additional preparation before joining academy. So in my opinion, this is a fantastic pathway for many of our students and families who are looking to get ahead before the school year begins. So it's a great preview of what academy will be like in the fall, and it's a great way for them to feel much more comfortable academically, socially, living at a boarding school, learning all those important routines and procedures. We do require a Duolingo for this as well. Again, the summer pathway schedule will be the same as the spring. It's a fully academic schedule. They're going to get all of their core classes here. So they have a full breadth and depth of the academic program at Academy. For this spring and summer, we do also have supplements to that program, which are really quite impressive. First of all, we have 3 project weeks. So Project A is a research project, which culminates in them. They create 4 things: a brochure, a poster, a presentation, and a short speech. So all those things will happen in 5 short days with our lead research librarian, Miss Blake. Project B is where they'll take part on a bioboat research project. That's where they will physically go out on a research boat with our head of science, Mr. Fleming. And then Project C is for our summer program, where they will also take part in the research week with Miss Blake. Finally, is our experiential learning, which is really a core piece of our spring and summer intakes. This includes 21 unique experiences totaling 126 hours that take place in and around New York City. Really very exciting for the students, and they're all academically focused. These will take place every Friday. These are some samples from the places that we visited in the previous program last year. So last April, we went to places like the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We had a fantastic Latin jazz concert at Lincoln Center. We also got to visit a university and the Liberty Science Center. In May, we had a theme of food, focused on learning about the different aspects of food. However, all of these are academically focused. So I want you to take a look at the New York City pizza tour. At face value, it might look like simply a fun thing to do, which it's true. It is. The kids get to eat pizza. But actually, our math teacher designed that trip, and the students had to measure the different slices of pizza, weigh them, take all of the notes, because the following Monday, the students actually had to put all of that data into a poster presentation, learn how to graph things in Excel, and then present it to the class at the end of the week. So although, yes, they got to eat some yummy pizza in New York City, they were also really doing something quite academic connected to their math class. And again, our math courses are really focused on them explaining the concepts in English language by presenting their findings. So that's just a short example of how all of these trips are really connected to what they're doing in the classroom. In June, students went on a hike to Katuska Falls, visited the Statue of Liberty, and had a private recording studio experience with our music teacher. In July, we visited the United Nations and went on a whale watching expedition. And then in August, we really focused on public speaking, and that's where we got a specific public speaking workshop with comedian and actor Josh Accardo. So what are the major outcomes of the prep program? Well, we can absolutely expect our prep program students to improve their academic language significantly. We know from the data that students are going to improve their overall confidence level in using English language and being in an English-speaking environment. We know that they're going to improve their study skills and habits, because part of the prep program is that we really require that they develop important executive functioning skills, like learning how to manage multiple deadlines, keeping track of due dates, using a planner to organize their academic and social life, as well as balancing important things like joining a sports team in addition to their study habits, etc. And finally, we want them to be socially integrated into life at EF Academy, which is a very important outcome, as we want them to be happy and successful at our school. The prep program really would be nothing without our signature English as an Additional Language EAL program, which is really something quite unique. A lot of schools offer this, but in my opinion, we have really created an EAL program that is quite stellar. This is our director, Leslie Creus. The way that we design the prep program is so that it seamlessly transitions into our EAL program. And so students have a fantastic transition, because we have designed their grade 9 and grade 10 schedule to really mirror the prep program schedule and vice versa. So everything that they do in prep really leads up to their grade 9 and grade 10 schedule. All of the classes are handpicked by Miss Creus, Leslie, and their university and academic counselor. Their math classes are not at all impacted by their language level, so they're really placed in their math class based on their ability level, not their language level. However, the other classes are really handpicked by us to make sure that they're exactly where they need to be so that they can be successful in the classroom. In addition to that, our grade 9 and grade 10 classes are also supported by English language specialists, our EAL teachers, so that students will be getting support in classes like their science class and combined science, their ancient civ or history class, biology or US history, and at times even their art or music class will have an English language specialist, which is extremely important. Their language and literature and EAL skills class and EAL support class are there as they continue to develop their academic language skills. However, we have had cases where students have worked so hard and made so much progress in the prep program that they have actually graduated out of our EAL program in the fall of their grade 9 or grade 10 year and transition to traditional academy classes without any additional EAL support. So for students who are very motivated, that is absolutely possible. Here is a brief breakdown of the tuition costs for the prep program. This is accessible on our website. One thing I do want to highlight is for 2025, we do have a prep program scholarship for the fall, winter, and spring intake. So what you simply do is you take 50% of that tuition cost, and that will be reserved as a scholarship in their grade 12 year. So for example, the winter pathway for our students who are in that pathway now, $21,000 of that money will be reserved as a scholarship for their academic year in grade 12. So it's actually really quite a great deal when you sit down and look at the numbers, because they are really getting an incredible program for a fraction of the cost once they take advantage of that scholarship. For the scholarship details in 2026, please feel free to reach out to our HOEs in the various countries as those details become available for this specific program. All right, I'm going to stop the presentation there to see if you have any questions, comments, anything that I can expand on. I am happy to do that.
Thank you so much, Emil. So this program is not just prepare students for their academic English, right? But also for adapting the culture. It's really amazing to see so many activities are included in the tuition, right? All inclusive. They don't need to pay extra for that.
Yes. Yes. All of the Friday trips that you saw, all of those academic 21 experiences, all of those things are included in the tuition. There's no additional cost to those. For some of the weekend trips, where, for example, during the school year, if they'd like to join a weekend trip, those would be at the cost that's advertised there. But during the summer, if we take them on any weekend trips, that is included in the cost of the program.
Right. Awesome. So, yeah. So the time is for you. If you have any question, please unmute yourself or just type on the chat box. So, Vicky.
Hey, this is Vicky from China. I just have a question regarding the academic credits. So for students that come from other American high schools, do you think the credits are transferable to their high school if they want to, do EAL or do the summer program here at EF?
Joe, would you like to take that? Do you have any insights on transferring credits from one American high school to another?
So it's, of course, always transferable, right? So not just the credits from American high school are transferable. If students who study grade 9, grade 10 in the home country, and then they want to start IB or grade 11 with us, we will check the transcript. All the high school transcript need to be reviewed by our team. So we will see if they can achieve the basic requirement for our high school. Does it answer your question, Vicky? Is that what you mean?
For
I don't know if I answered your
sorry,
question.
for students that only want to join the summer pathway,
Yeah,
for instance, if they want to take the EAL, the literature
right.
classes,
Mm-hmm.
etc., and they want to transfer these credits back to their American high
Oh,
school, is it possible to
Ah,
do that?
okay. Emil.
yes, I can expand a bit, Vicky. So the prep program is a non-credit earning program. It's not a remediation program. So it's not a
Okay.
way to earn additional credits or to make up for credits where a class was failed. It is really a preparation program for high
Okay,
school.
got it.
So for
Got
It's a
it.
good
Thank you
students
so
question.
much.
who,
Mm.
yeah,
It's a good question because we got some question regarding the academic requirement, right? We did talk about the English requirement, but academically, we accept students from grade 8 because the prep program, even student join in the fall season, is not academic it's not getting credits, right, to the students. But
Okay.
Emil, I think we can be a little bit flexible for students who started their grade 8 in September in
yes,
China, Taiwan, Korea, say for example. But then if they want to join our January intake, we can consider, right? We can check the transcript again. We can take them instead of
yes,
having the whole
yes.
year of grade 8 in the home country.
Correct. So that is a really great point, Joe. So for eighth grade students who would like to simply skip a portion of eighth grade, we can absolutely work with that with the prep program, as it is an academic program. Now, they're not going to finish eighth grade, but US universities do not look at eighth grade transcripts. And so as long as the family is comfortable with that and the student is comfortable with that, and they are an academically strong student, it is definitely something that we can do. Actually, we did that this year with a student from Vietnam. Her name is Tan. She did not complete eighth grade. She joined us about halfway through and has been very successful in the prep program. And we believe that she'll be very strong in ninth grade. So that is definitely possible.
Exactly. That the trigger an idea to me. Maybe some of your students, they are studying in the States, but then they are still having hard time to catch up, right? In grade 9, say, for example. So they can actually join our summer prep. And if they really like us, they can actually proceed to our either grade 10, if the age it's allowed, they could repeat grade 9. It's quite common. Sometimes we heard from our partner that the student just want to repeat for another year. But if they can actually be successful in the summer intake, and then they can actually study our grade 10 program with EAL support. So I hope that can give you a better idea about how great we are to support students who are academically strong, but they just need some kind of English and academic English support. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky, for the question. And Joe, if I can just chip in a little bit.
Okay.
And so just to your point, last year we actually had a Chinese student who is currently studying in the US high school for grade 9 and wanted to transfer to EF Academy, joining our prep program from March. So that's also something that we can do. And also last year we had a Chinese applicant who's studying in grade 9 already in another boarding school in the Northeast and wanted to join our prep program. So those are the kind of scenarios that you might come across in your daily conversations with the families.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think the difference is sometimes, families think, oh, well, I just need to get my child into an English-speaking high school, and then they're going to learn English. Again, the reason I start this presentation, especially for you folks, but also for families, is to understand that that's really not how language acquisition works. It's a great way to do that if you want to learn the basic English language skills. But what I have seen since working at EF Academy And it hasn't been just one or two cases, but it's actually been several. We have come across students who went to another international school somewhere in the US, either from China or another country. Their English level wasn't great. They spent a full year there. They did not do academically well, not because they're not strong academically, but because they don't have the language skills. And surprise, surprise, their transcripts were not great, but we interviewed that student, and what we realized was they're struggling because of their language skills, not because of their academic skills. And what they could have really used is an additional time in our prep program or something similar. And so, as Josh said, as Joe said, we have been able to support families that are kind of in that pickle of, hey, I've had my student go somewhere for a year. It's just not working out because they're not getting the support that they need, or they're not doing academically well because they don't understand what the teachers are saying. It breaks my heart to see that, but it's really great when we get to take those students into our school and support them, either in the prep program or the EAL program.
Yep, that's a good discussion. Any other questions? Again, you can speak in your local language if you feel more comfortable. Or from Claire, from Hessen, you've been helping our partner for this program, right? So what are the common asked questions or the concern? One of the questions from me was sometimes about the break, right? So some of the intake, they end in May, and then some end in July. If the student, they don't want to go back to the home country, can we extend the end day, which is actually flexible, right? Emil, you may want to share.
Yes, yes. So for the fall program, those students will actually be away for winter and spring break. For the winter break and the spring break, we provide students with tasks to do at home. So we actually provide a very rigorous program for them to complete while they are at home. They actually have to submit videos, they have to submit homework assignments, and our teachers will check those over the break. Students are getting ready to do that now for spring break. But for the fall program, they'll end in May. If they'd like to extend through the summer, they absolutely have the option to do that. And in some cases, we'll recommend it, depending on how much progress they've made. And the same is true for our spring students and our winter students who will end the program at the beginning of August. They'll have about 3 weeks to go home. If they'd like to continue straight through the beginning of the school year, they do have the option to do that as well.
Thank you, Emil.
Are there any concerns from anyone regarding the details of the program, questions that you think families might have? Is there anything that jumps out to you about the academics or the structure, or what type of student you might be able to recommend based on age, based on language level?
Don't be shy.
I don't know if you want to address folks in their first language. I don't know if that might be a better way. I don't know what type of speakers we have in the room.
Yeah, we have partners from Korea, Taiwan, and China. So speak your own language.
Hey, Sun, did you want to make an announcement in Korean to see if anybody would like to speak in Korean?
혹시 저희 오늘 한국에서 오신 에이전트 관계자분들께서 많이 참석해 주셨는데요. 감사드리고요. 혹시 뭐 궁금하신 것들 있으신지 편하게 한국어로 질문해 주셔도 됩니다. No question so far.
Yeah.
Everything is perfect.
It means you have a clear.
I guess it was very clear.
Okay, So if you have no further question on these sessions, so we'll wrap up. But at the same time, if you need more support, you have more questions coming up, please contact our colleagues in your home office. Yeah, Hyson, George, and Claire are here to help you out. Yeah, we can always talk to Emil. Emil is someone who always responds 24 hours, 7 almost. But thank you, Emil, for your time. Yeah, enjoy your vacation. Have a good night
you.
there.
It's so great to see everyone, and I hope that you have a great evening, great day.
Thank you. And thanks for joining us. Yeah, have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.